In early 2025, reports suggested that Microsoft quietly dialed back internal growth expectations for some of its AI products. That's because customers have pushed back against these agentic AI add-ons. The most notable of these was with Copilot, which has attracted very strong consumer backlash. Plenty of people were already comparing it to Clippy because the experience felt like software trying a little too hard to help. In Australia, the competition regulator also pushed Microsoft to offer refunds to customers who did not want Copilot after allegations that a cheaper classic option without Copilot was buried and that consumers were effectively opted in by default. For many users, the feature still does not feel like clear added value. If AI is truly transformative, why is there such a backlash when Microsoft embeds it into everyday products? There are three reasons why the backlash is real. For a lot of people, Copilot adds clutter, extra suggestions, and extra rework. Even when it produces something decent, you still have to edit it, check it, and reshape it. If the daily experience is "it slows me down," then the Clippy comparisons become inevitable. Secondly, there is a genuine concern about trust and security. Once AI sits at the system level, people worry about what's being captured, where it goes, and who can see it. Earlier this year, Microsoft released Windows Recall, which used AI to periodically capture screenshots. Honestly, it's just creepy and a massive privacy overreach, and you really have to wonder how this ever was approved for release. Finally, Copilot is just rubbish. Microsoft assumed that placing a generative AI layer on top of an organization's files would somehow produce useful results. In practice, most enterprise content is messy, inconsistent, and poorly governed. That means the model lacks structure and context, so it fills the gaps with confident guesses, which we call hallucinations. If you've ever worked in corporate, you'd know that share drives are always a mess, and they're a world away from the tightly set of highly governed source information that AI models need to make confident predictions. And this highlights that the key problem with generative AI is hallucinations. But they're not a simple bug that you can patch out. They are a natural consequence of how these systems work. Language models work by predicting the next word. This makes them fluent and persuasive, but they're not grounded in reality. It's why a model can write beautiful poetry, but can't count the number of R's in strawberry. OpenAI researchers themselves made this point directly in their 2025 paper, Why Language Models Hallucinate. The implication is uncomfortable. Hallucinations will not disappear by scaling models or by polishing prompts, because the training structure rewards guessing instead of just saying, "I don't know." The path to trustworthy enterprise AI is not blind faith in bigger models. It's grounding, verification, provenance, and systems that won't guess. And that's bad news for OpenAI. Microsoft was betting that its core technology would give an edge in the enterprise market, which it currently dominates. But if that's no longer true, the question is, how will OpenAI ever make money? If hallucinations can't be fixed with more GPUs and more training, how are the unit economics ever going to stack up? If customers are rejecting Copilot and enterprises not making progress, we simply won't need all these data centers and GPUs. And that means the hardware bubble will pop and the AI arms race, which encouraged everybody to overbuild and hoard GPUs, starts to look incredibly risky. Adoption is stalling because the return on investment is unclear, and investments may become stranded. If that's true, then that's when the correction arrives. CapEx will slow, valuations will compress, and the consolidation begins. Now, to be fair, consumer-grade AI is fine for low-level value tasks. People will use it for brainstorming, writing, and summarizing because the stakes are low and the value is immediate. But the issue is that consumer AI alone doesn't pay the enormous cost of frontier infrastructure. Without a compelling enterprise use case, it's hard to see how OpenAI makes money without massive price hikes and ads. Should OpenAI fail to find a way to generate enough cash, it could end up being absorbed back into Microsoft. Microsoft made a huge bet when it invested in OpenAI, and that's what kicked off the entire arms race that we see today. But right now, that bet is looking increasingly risky, and that's why the conversation has shifted away from large language models towards AI agents. In the next episode, I will look at agentic workflow and argue that this approach is still inherently flawed because, again, the unit economics don't add up. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel so you can be notified whenever a new video is published.